Hey, Dr. Nance. Um, in response to your question of how do we um, respond to the people like the young man when Jesus told him that all of his good deeds wasn't enough, that he had to sell everything and follow him, I usually present it in a little more straightforward action as far as that. Like, for one, I try my best to live my life, especially to the public, as a follower of Jesus. I credit everything to Jesus. I try not to put any focus on the works that I do, but more on the blessings that I get from Jesus simply from following him, not for anything that I've done, because let's face facts, he gives us our very breath that we breathe. So everything that we even do comes from him. Um, but I've always kind of had a problem with that as far as, you know, do we chase people? Do we keep trying to be that persistent in um, converting them, so to speak? Um, uh, about a year ago, I was studying Acts, and I ran upon the scripture where Jesus told them that when they go into a town and they present the gospel to people, if those people don't want to accept the gospel, to dust to knock the dust of that home from their feet and never return. So then I probed a little further, and I asked myself the question: Did Jesus chase people and beg them to follow him? And I couldn't find a single place in the scripture where anything even close to that happened. It was more of Jesus gave people the opportunity to follow him, and if they chose not to, then they went away, and that was the end of them in that story. So I've kind of struggled with that thought a lot, because I find myself kind of being persistent with people I work with, people that I run into, like, say, a grocery store, the Kroger, the nearby Kroger that I frequent every day, and I try my best to drop little pieces of the gospel to those people every time I talk to them. Something like, if they ask me how I'm doing, I say, I'm highly favored and blessed, and hoping that they'll ask, what do you mean? So that gives me a little open door, and sometimes they do, you know, and, but as far as trying to persuade people or convince people, I, I'm not sure we're supposed to. I think that if they're open to the idea and inquisitive about it, then absolutely. But so many times I've kind of, I guess you'd say, chased people and tried to convince them to follow Jesus, and it seemed to push them further and further away. Even I feel like when Jesus said that the Father calls us, basically we don't call him. What he's saying is that until you're to the point where you are looking for an answer and want an answer and are aware of the fact that you need an answer, there's no room for Jesus in your heart. So I feel like you have to be aware of your need before you can feel that need. And it's ironic that you brought that up, because my wife and I were talking about that early this morning, and I, until Jesus knocks on the door and your heart is soft enough to hear that knock and want to answer it, I don't think there's anything that anybody can do to convince you, that you need Jesus. I've prayed prayers before that I call dangerous prayers, and that is, Lord, if I need to be broken to be closer to you, then make me broken, because I want to be closer to you. I want to feel your presence. And make no mistake, he will most certainly answer that prayer, because some of the most trying, hardest, heartbroken times of my life have come after that prayer. So, it's, be careful what you pray for, because you just might get it. That is true. But yeah, I'm not real sure of what to do when somebody walks away downtrodden like that man when he spoke to Jesus, because I'm kind of conflicted, you know. But I really appreciate you bringing that into my mind to think about and ponder and study and try to find an answer for, because I really want to know. You know, it's our job to go into the world and make disciples of all nations. So, you know, we have to know what we're doing in order to do that, right? So you have a blessed evening, and thank you very much for your video. God bless.